Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto received more than will of fire from Hashirama. What if it was something tangible with the blood of Shodai running through his veins? What changes will come to the Naruto verse? Before we start, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to this channel for more what ifs, and check the description for creator of this great fanfic. So let us start. Disclaimer. I do not own Naruto Chapter 20. It begins. The sun was rising over Konoha as a lone figure sat atop the Hokage's mountain. The figure looked like the spitting image of the Yondaime Hokage, with only whisker marks and violet eyes to distinguish between the two. It was Naruto sitting atop his father's stone head wearing his Anbu uniform, though his mask was situated on the side of his head. The young Anbu captain woke up early this morning to clear his head, just like every morning since the Sky Ninja raid. Naruto watched Konoha beginning to come to life with the start of the day. Businesses opening, people entering the streets, and the occasional ninja or two scampering to their missions. A few weeks had passed since the Sky Ninja raid, and Naruto was still thinking about his conversation with Sasuke. Flashback. 3 weeks ago, Tsukuyomi, Moon Reader, thought Sasuke. In a pitch-black world, Naruto was dragged into a pitch-black world where his body was inverted in colors. Naruto looked around the world slightly as he noticed he was in a genjutsu. Sasuke knows that I can easily get out of genjutsu. Even with this technique, I'd still be able to get out of this, thought Naruto as he channeled his chakra. The world cracked immensely but did not break. Naruto was impressed as he channeled his chakra once more. The pitch-black world held firm for a second time. Naruto was prepared to do it again and again until he broke the genjutsu, but Sasuke's voice stopped him. Naruto, wait. There's something I need to tell you, said Sasuke, appearing in the field next to Naruto beside his Susanoo. Do you know the reason why I left the village? Because if not, I'll tell you right now, as I hope you remember your promise of helping me. Yes, I remember what I promised you I'd do whenever you went after Itachi. I figured there was a reason that you left the village, since that squad of Anbu attacked me before I could return with you, said Naruto before asking the question he knew Sasuke wanted him to. Was it an S-rank mission that Ba-chan sent you on? You're right that it was an S-rank mission, but Hokage-sama didn't sanction it, said Sasuke as Naruto looked confused. What do you know about Root? Never heard of it. Root is an officially disbanded branch of Konoha's Anbu founded by Danzo Shimura. We in Root carry out missions that Danzo believes will benefit Konoha, but only in total anonymity and without the village's authorization. Missions that wouldn't normally be done, as some of them are very dirty and could paint a bad image of Konoha. It's a very secret organization, and only the Hokage and the village elders knew of its continued existence. If it's so secret, then why would you tell me about it? Said Naruto before adding, and if it is so secret, I'm sure there would be countermeasures to ensure no one would talk. You're right, normally there would be a cursed seal on a member of Root, but due to the mission I was sent on, he took it off so that I wouldn't be found out. Plus, he never figured I'd meet you in a situation like this, said Sasuke, answering the last part of Naruto's question first. I'm telling you this now because of Danzo. The reason I joined Root was due to his promise of helping me grow strong enough to face Itachi and learning the truth of his actions during the massacre. It also gave me a way to protect Konoha. But Danzo is not someone I trust, so I'll need assistance from someone just in case he ever turns his back on me. So what is this mission exactly? To get in with Orochimaru and bring back any secrets he may have learned in his stint away from Konoha, while also leaking back information to Konoha to use for sacking his bases, said Naruto as Sasuke nodded his head. I was tasked as the leader of an Anbu squad assigned with dealing with their destruction. I did always wonder how we got their location, as they were placed in areas of extreme secrecy and difficulty to access to the outside world. Orochimaru may be a twisted individual, but he is also wise, and as such, Konoha may have never found any of his bases where he carried out his experiments. That's why I've been doing it in secret all these years, said Sasuke before turning gravely serious. But that's not all of my mission. The end part of it is to assassinate the Sannin. Naruto's face became more serious hearing this. Why not just kill him now or beforehand? I'm sure you're strong enough. I can feel it. Not to mention the power of those eyes you hold, said Naruto as Sasuke shook his head slightly. Had I killed him before now, I wouldn't have been able to gather information on his bases and his cursed seal, plus things like it. If we're going to kill Orochimaru, then we will erase him with finality. Leave no way for him to return or any of his experiments to freely move around. That makes sense. Someone like Orochimaru is bound to do all he can to ensure he can never truly die. Which is why I'll need your help. There's no way Orochimaru couldn't know that I'd be attempting to kill him. I'm guessing he likes the reward more than the risk. Of course I'll be there, said Naruto as he then realized something. Speaking of risk, how is your eyesight? How could you know about that? Asked Sasuke as Naruto shrugged. I have my ways, said Naruto as he was referencing his time spent with Hashirama, who told him all about the Uchiha clan and the Mangekyo Sharingan. You've been using those eyes, and from the way you immediately placed me under this genjutsu, I'm guessing you found a cure of sorts. You're well informed about my clan's secrets, said Sasuke with a small smirk. My eyes are fine, for now. You're helping me with that. I'm helping. How could I be? Said Naruto until he felt something very familiar to him inside of Sasuke. How? Do you know about the legend of the Sage of Six Paths and the Jubi 10 Tails? Said Sasuke as Naruto shook his head. It seems history is forgotten as time passes, but there is a relic that showed me the truth, and the reality of this world. One that was written by the sage himself. Only those who possess visual prowess like myself can find out the truth from the tablet. The sage was able to defeat the Jubi, but as it was an immortal creature he could not kill it, leaving him with only one option. Naruto pieced the puzzle together. Only one option to stop a giant unkillable beast. Kind of familiar to the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The sage sealed the beast and created a Jinchuriki. Yes, into himself. Time passed and the sage's life was coming to an end, so to save the world from the eventual resurgence of the Jubi, the sage divided its chakra up into 9 different pieces. Those different pieces later came to be known as the Biju, such as the Kyuubi. The sage then sealed the husk of the Jubi into what is now known as the moon before passing away. If the sage could do something like that on his deathbed, then how powerful could he be? Asked Naruto as Sasuke shook his head. I have no clue. He was the first ninja born with chakra and also Jinchuriki of the most powerful entity ever known. His power could be limitless. Plus he is also our ancestor. The power of the Senju and Uchiha birthed directly from him, said Sasuke as Naruto was listening intently. The Senju and Uchiha were originally one in the same inside of the Sage of Six Paths. The sage had 2 sons, one the ancestor of the Senju and the other the ancestor of the Uchiha clan. The Senju were given the body of the sage consisting of his vitality and physical energy, while the Uchihas inherited the mind consisting of his visual prowess and spiritual energy. Naruto continued putting the pieces together in his head. If what you're saying is true, then that makes us very distant relatives. And if those are my cells in that patch on your shoulder, it must lessen the effect on your eyes while also helping you recover faster due to my chakra and life force, said Naruto as Sasuke nodded. When did you acquire something like that from me? During our battle at the Valley of the End. Despite losing that last struggle, my Chidori did pierce your shoulder slightly, granting me access to your cells, which contained healing powers. But don't think that just because I have access to your chakra doesn't mean I can use any of your abilities or that my eyes don't lose their sight when I use them. It just lessens the effect considerably to keep me from getting too blind before I find the solution to fix my eyes permanently. Your brother's eyes? Questioned Naruto knowingly as Sasuke shook his head in amusement. You know way too much, Naruto. But you're right. However, our time here is coming to an end. I'm not too good at using this genjutsu and can only advert time by a few minutes. Can I count on your assistance in helping me? Asked Sasuke as Naruto sat for a little while contemplating Sasuke's question. Naruto then stood while putting a fist out. Sasuke grew a slight smile as he fist bumped his best friend. One more thing. Hokage-sama seemed to know about the plan since she only sent that group of ninjas with you. I'd check that if I were you. Flashback end, it all makes sense. Yugao Senpai had just come back to the village and could have easily been sent out in the retrieval of Sasuke. Yet Ba-chan sent out 3 genins and 2 rookie chunins to retrieve him without any knowledge of the opponent's skills. It's hard to believe that Ba-chan didn't even feel like telling me about this or even root. She probably knew something like this would happen when I was talking to her that night about how Sasuke was acting fishy. Thought Naruto as he felt a slight breeze flow through the air, causing his hair to sway. And Anbu appeared kneeling on the mountain behind him. Yes. Gamma Taicho, Hokage-sama requests your presence, said the Anbu as he vanished right after relaying the message. Naruto nodded before vanishing in a shunshin to the Hokage tower. He came up through the floorboards of Tsunade's office as he addressed his leader. Hokage-sama, said Gamma as Tsunade looked up to see her favorite Anbu. Hello Gamma, please take off your mask as it won't be needed for what I'm about to ask of you, said Tsunade as Naruto took off his mask and placed it back on the side of his head. Good, now your code name for this mission will be Sake. There was a moment of silence as Naruto and Tsunade stared at each other with straight faces. Several seconds passed until Naruto's lip quivered upward slightly. Ha, I win this round Gaki. That's another point for me, said Tsunade as she marked down a tally mark next to her name in a book she retrieved from her drawer. That now puts me in the lead brat. Damn. I'll get you next time, said Naruto as he then slumped in the chair in front of his aunt. So what did you need me for? Oh right. I need you to go to Suna for another visit. Suna. Why Sunagakuer? More alliance talks that won't go through, that haven't gone through since their failed invasion, asked Naruto as he felt a familiar presence approaching the room. A presence of the Jinchuriki kind. Wait, she's here. You and a representative from our alliance with Kumo are going to go to Sunagakuer. Suna appointed Akage a little over 6 months ago and he has sent a request to finalize the alliance. And I'm sending you to deliver our response while Kumo is sending someone as per the Konoha-Kumo alliance agreement, informed Tsunade as a knock came at the door. Come in. The door opened acknowledging Tsunade's request. Naruto turned and his pupils dilated at who he saw. Hello, Hokage Dono. Hello, Naruto-kun. The greeting came from a sweet voice that Naruto considered his favorite. Hey Yugi-chan, said Naruto cutting off Tsunade, who should have went first but realized Naruto was excited to see his girlfriend. You're the Kumo representative. Of course I am, said Yugito as she looked to the third blonde in the room. Are we ready to go Hokage Dono? I'm guessing Naruto-kun will be Konoha's representative. Tsunade nodded her head as she took out a scroll and flung it at Naruto. Yes ma'am. Have fun you two and please get there safely. Just because the Akatsuki isn't scheduled for a few months, doesn't mean they can't surprise us, said Tsunade as Naruto caught the fast-thrown scroll. See you when you come back. Naruto nodded his head as he escorted Yugito out of the office. As they were walking out, Sakura walked past the two with a greeting. Tsunade-sama, are you sure it's wise to send Naruto on that mission with Yugito without backup? They could get captured by the enemy or something else. They could also, they might, stammered Sakura as Tsunade halted her apprentice with a hand. I know it's dangerous, Sakura. But I don't think there is anyone who could take out Naruto. Let alone Naruto and Yugito together. Even Itachi Uchiha and his partner would have problems, said Tsunade as she went back to her paperwork. And about that last part, Naruto's been acting weird since the Sky Ninja assault and this will be perfect for him. Maybe Yugito will help get him out of his funk. Sakura nodded her head at her sensei's words. Wait what? Land of Wind 2 days later, Mokuten. Shichuka no Jutsu, wood style. 4-pillar house technique. Wood rose out of the ground in tall pillars, molding itself into a perfect wooden house. Naruto picked Yugito up bridal style as he kicked open the door to the newly built house. Naruto stood with Yugito in his arms as he then looked at his girlfriend. Yugito gave a hum before shaking her head. No, I don't feel it, said Yugito as Naruto nodded his head in agreement. I know right, something's off, said Naruto setting Yugito down while closing the door to the newly built house. I don't know what it is but it just doesn't seem like it's right. Ah well, I'm sure with enough practice, I'll get it down. Yugito nodded while taking off the cloak she was wearing to keep the sun off her skin. Yugito and Naruto entered the Land of Wind and were only a day away from Sunagakuer. The two Jinchuriki decided to rest for the remainder of the day as they were running for the majority of it racing to Suna. The shift between the Land of Fire and Land of Wind happened immediately and the landscape was unforgiving, requiring the use of a cloak to shield oneself from the blazing sun and harsh conditions of the desert. Yugito walked into the main room of the newly created house while Naruto walked off into the bathroom to shower. As Yugito unpacked her belongings from the scroll in her ninja pouch, she looked around at the house Naruto created just now in mere seconds. Naruto-kun's Mokuten ability has improved, thought Yugito, looking at the detail of the house compared to the one he created over a year ago in Kumo. I mean, this house is amazing and it seems like he barely even put effort into making it. This is something royals would live in. Mokuten was simply an amazing Kekkei Genkei. The power to build or the power to destroy. It had no equal. Naruto could subdue beings as powerful as the Biju or spawn beauty such as this house if he so chose. It was incredible. You're right, kitten. You're totally right, came the voice of Yugito's Biju companion, Matabi. He even had the decency to create a queen-sized bed for you too. I know you've been wanting to finally claim him ever since this trip started. I've heard your thoughts, so don't even try to lie about it. Yugito smiled internally at her Biju as she heard the door to the bathroom open. Yugito turned her head to see Naruto walking out of the bathroom in a simple shirt, boxers with faces of toads everywhere, and his nightcap that had the design of a toad swallowing the top part of his head. Yugito chuckled slightly seeing him in that ridiculous attire again. Naruto stretched and yawned as he looked at the amused Yugito. Yugi-chan. I'll be here if you need me. I'm tired, said Naruto as he plopped face first onto one side of the bed. With Naruto laying face down on the bed, he didn't notice Yugito's smirk as she slipped into the bathroom. Naruto laid with his face buried snugly into the bed for about 3 minutes until he heard a voice in his head. Naruto, said Kurama in Naruto's head. Naruto didn't move outwardly but grunted internally to acknowledge that he was listening. When are you going to confront that Senju lady about what that Uchiha brat told you? I will, Kurama. In due time. Well, hurry it up then. You're getting on my nerves with the way you've been acting lately. You're limiting yourself by having that cloud over you for the past few weeks. I know. Even Yugi-chan has noticed. It's just hard. To think that someone you trust did something like that without telling you is tough to swallow, said Naruto back to Kurama. Kurama took what Naruto said into consideration. You're right. But why not hear her side of the story? Find out why she made the decision she made. That way you can finally get over what's been plaguing you since seeing that Uchiha boy again. Kurama, when did you get all emotional and begin to help me with my personal problems? Asked Naruto as he then smirked into the bed he was laying in. You must really like me. I knew we were friends. Kurama, said Naruto to his Biju. Did he cut the connection on me? I never knew he could do that. So that's what that feels like. I guess I'll talk to him later. Hello Naruto-kun. Came the sultry voice of Yugito as the door to the bathroom closed. Yugito was dressed in one of Naruto's t-shirts that had the Senju clan crest laid on the back with her white necklace that matched Naruto's green one. Due to Naruto being bigger than Yugito, the shirt Yugito was wearing only hung down low enough to cover Yugito's backside, where you could see a pretty pair of blue panties peeking underneath. Mind if I join you? Yugito had never seen Naruto move so fast. Naruto heard the word, I, followed by the word, join, and already concluded that she was going to ask to join him. Naruto was now under the bedsheets, lifting part of it to allow Yugito entrance. Yugito crawled into the bed happily as she snuggled her way over to Naruto in the middle of the bed. You're warm, said Yugito with a contented sigh as she nuzzled her way into Naruto a little further. So I've been told, said Naruto pulling Yugito in further with one of his arms. One of the many perks I guess when you're dealing with a guy with a near omnipotent Biju resting in his stomach. Or mind. Since I go into my mindscape to talk with him. I don't know, one of the two. Speaking of Bijus, it's almost time for the Akatsuki to come around, right? Naruto gave the girl a nod. Just about. Jiraiya-sensei said that'd be making their move in 3 years, and if he's right, we have a little over 4 months left to prepare for them, said Naruto as he grabbed Yugito a little closer unconsciously. It's even worse because since you have the two tails within you, they'll come after you during the first part of their hunt. They'll try to gather the Biju from 1 to 9, in that order if everything is correct with Sensei's intel. Meaning you'll be one of their first targets. But don't worry, I won't let them get you. Don't worry about me. I'm sure that anything they could throw at me wouldn't be enough to take me down. Especially if I go full transformation, and I'm sure I'll have backup anyway. Yugito internally smiled at Naruto's tightened grip. He was worried about her, but she was worried about him too. You need to worry about yourself. Jiraiya-sama also said that the leader of that group is supposed to come after you. Anybody that can lead a person like Itachi Uchiha and several other S-rank shinobi has to be powerful. If what I fear is true, then we will need to worry, said Kurama as Naruto listened intently. If they're gathering all 9 Bijus, then it can only mean that either they'll use us as a weapon or they'll combine us into something more powerful. Something more powerful. I thought you were the most powerful. What creature could be more powerful than you? Questioned Naruto, paying no heed to anything but Kurama. The Jubi that Sasuke talked about. Yes, the progenitor of this world and the original tailed beast. You still haven't told me about this Jubi ever since I learned about its existence. What about it makes it so tough to handle? Started Naruto, only to be cut from his conversation by Yugito poking him in the cheek. Oi, Yugi-chan. What was that for? Yugito displayed a cute frown. You were spaced out and ignoring me. I thought you were going to protect me from the Akatsuki. You can't do that if you're spacing out and talking to your Biju. You're not even focused on me. I am focused on you, said Naruto as Yugito began to position herself on top of his lap facing him. You sure you're focused on me? Said Yugito in a playful manner. Naruto smiled a little as he leaned his head forward so that his and Yugito's lips were a breath away. I'm sure, said Naruto as he leaned his head further, right into Yugito's lips. Naruto and Yugito were grinning slightly as they continued to kiss one another with roaming hands. Yugito started to take off Naruto's shirt as they eventually ended the kiss to get it all the way off. Yugito tossed Naruto's shirt, leaving only his necklace there as she ran a hand down his chiseled upper body. We've been alone for 2 whole days. Started Yugito, kissing Naruto some more before breaking away. Yet, we still haven't done anything. What did you have in mind? Questioned Naruto as he felt Yugito's hand reach the top of his boxers. Yugito's eyes were locked firmly on Naruto's boxers as she put a hand inside the waistband. Yugito licked her lips in anticipation as she then looked back up at Naruto. Well, started Yugito as she began to pull up on Naruto's boxers. Before Yugito could make a move to pull them down, Naruto grabbed her hand and stopped her. What do you not want? With a loud crash, 9 figures came flying in through the house's window with weapons drawn at the 2 Jinchuriki. 9 masked individuals as one of them pulled down his veil to address the 2. Sorry to interrupt what you were doing, but, said the man as he moved his oversized sword closer. We'll be taking all of your valuables. So please don't make this harder than it has to be. You have got to be kidding me, said Yugito with a frown as the man laughed. Oh, don't worry, pretty lady. We're going to kill your lover there quick and without pain. But you, my dear, will be taken back with us to become our personal plaything. I'm not worried about that. Actually, I'm not worried at all. It's just you guys are serious mood killers, said Yugito as she moved off of Naruto. One of the men approached Naruto immediately, and with a swing of his cleaver, Naruto's head came clean off. But instead of blood, only straw came out. Is that a dummy? Said the leader as he realized that it was a replacement. They're shinobis. Naruto appeared behind one of the men in a shunshin as he pressed firmly into one of the man's vital organs with a tri-pronged kunai. Yugito moved swiftly to stab the one next to Naruto's with one of her extended fingernails into his heart. Naruto kicked the man off his kunai before he slammed a hand into the floorboard. A huge seal appeared underneath the house, making the ground rumble slightly as Naruto placed an arm around Yugito before performing a shunshin to exit the house with her in tow. Get out! Shouted the leader as he and 2 others managed to leap out of the house in time. The other 4 weren't as lucky as the house was swallowed whole by the appearance of a giant Venus fly trap. What the hell is that thing? Asked the leader as he looked at the huge plant in front of him that appeared to be looking at him despite not having eyes. The leader then looked to the right to see Naruto and Yugito across the clearing. Man, I was just about to lose my virginity. And you all just had to show up, said Naruto as he held the snake seal. Trees sprouted from the ground around the 3 men that were left as they were held snug in the branch's grip. Who are you? The leader gulped nervously. I'm just a thief. I don't even know how to use a sword, but I never meant any real harm, said the leader, still struggling to get out of the chakra-suppressing trees. Before Naruto could respond, however, Yugito did for him by blasting a giant wall of blue flames at the helpless men, burning them alive. Bandits. Stealing from people and threatening to take a woman and use her against her will, said Yugito as she turned toward Naruto. That's who they are. Naruto nodded his head, not caring that Yugito just killed the treacherous men. He was sad that people died but didn't feel sorry for them because of what they may have done or planned to do. By the way, said Yugito pointing toward Naruto's plant summon. Your plant just ate all of our belongings in the house we were in. Naruto's plant creature spat out several scrolls and Naruto's toad wallet as it disappeared in a poof of smoke. Naruto looked sheepish as the stuff spat out by his summoning was covered in a thick slime. So does that mean we can't continue what we were about to do? Started Naruto only to see Yugito's look. Yeah, bad timing. Don't worry, I'll replace all of that, somehow. At least it saved the treaty scrolls. Sunagakuer one day later, dude, that's the orange fox and Kumo's Hellcat, said a Suna Chunin, who was situated inside of a dune that acted as a gate for people entering Suna. And you said this job sucked. The other Suna Chunin in the dune beside him could only nod dumbly as he watched the retreating figures of the two Jinchuriki. Naruto was dressed in the standard Konoha uniform, except with a short-sleeve shirt on instead of a long one. He still wore black instead of blue as his pants ran into his black and white shinobi sandals. Yugito was wearing her normal attire but added the one-strap, white flak jacket of her village. They were both wearing black forehead protectors that displayed their respective villages as they walked through the streets of Suna. Naruto-kun, said Yugito, noticing the villagers' stares at the two of them and the stares of others as well. We're being watched. Of course we are Yugi-chan. Well, not me in particular because I've been here several times before, but definitely you, said Naruto as he saw what was Suna's equivalent to the Hokage Tower. Though I do wonder who they picked as a cage. Not to mention the fact that I can finally help Gaara out. Gaara? Questioned Yugito as the two continued walking despite the constant stares from the villagers. You don't know who Gaara is. Suna no Gaara, Gaara of the Sand. You've really never heard of him? Asked Naruto as Yugito shook her head no. Well, I guess you probably wouldn't since Suna isn't that much of a world power or even relatively close to Kumo. But Gaara's the Jinchuriki of the Ikibi, Shukaku. Wow. Another Jinchuriki. And finally the one weaker than me. Every other Jinchuriki I've met has a Biju with more tails than me. Finally, the Jinchuriki whose ass I can kick when it comes to raw power. No, my dear Yugi-chan. I wouldn't say that, well I guess you can relatively when just speaking of tails. But Gaara's extremely strong and then you have to remember that we're in a desert. Surrounded by miles of sand which Gaara can control at a whim, informed Naruto getting Yugito's eyebrows to raise. Trying to beat Gaara in Suna is like trying to light a match underwater. It's futile really. Even I would get my ass handed to me out here if he went all out. You'd get your ass handed to you out here by me as well. Came the voice of Kankuro, standing outside of the spherical structure that held the Kazekage's office. Kankuro smirked as he put a fist out for Naruto to bump, which Naruto easily did. And I assume you're Ni Yugito, liaison for Kumogakure. I am Kankuro, welcome to Sunagakuer. Yugito shook hands with Kankuro, returning his greeting. Naruto then noticed something that was off. Hey, Kankuro. Where's Temari-chan and Gaara? Asked Naruto as Kankuro escorted the two into the building. Kankuro chuckled at that question. Temari is out on a mission at the moment and I'm guessing you haven't heard about Gaara, said Kankuro as Naruto shook his head wondering what he could mean. Did something happen to Gaara? Well, hello, Naruto and Yugito-san, I am the Godime Kazekage, Gaara, said Gaara as Naruto's jaw dropped to see Gaara in the ceremonial green robes of Suna's cage. Welcome to Suna. Yugito greeted Gaara with a bow at the young cage as Naruto continued to gawk at the Ikibi Jinchuriki. You're kidding right? Asked Naruto as Kankuro laughed and slapped a hand on his back. When did this happen? I was here less than a year ago and you all still didn't have a cage yet and now they've selected you. Yes, I was given the honor of cage shortly after you left the last time. The people have accepted me and I am proud to serve as their cage, said Gaara turning around looking out of his office at his village. I'd gladly give my life to protect them. Naruto couldn't help but smile at his once enemy turned friend. After the failed invasion of Konoha, Suna surrendered immediately and afterward began the process of an alliance with Konoha. Naruto became the messenger between the two villages along with Temari as they continued discussing their alliance. And in that time, Naruto became good friends with Kankuro and Temari, but even better friends with his fellow Jinchuriki, Gaara. Naruto helped Gaara live for a better purpose other than proving his existence through killing, he helped him find something worth living for. The alliance talks between Konoha and Suna continued ever since the invasion because due to Suna not having a kage, an alliance necessarily couldn't be finalized. But now with Gaara as the new cage, a true alliance could actually be feasible. And with Kumo there due to their alliance with Konoha, 3 of the 5 great villages would be at peace with each other. Naruto smiled more at the thought that he was seeing Hashirama's dream coming true, one village at a time. Gaara then turned back around as he looked toward the 2 other Jinchuriki in the room. I'm sure you two are tired from your trip here. We have set up accommodations for your stay here for the night and any night after that until we decide on the alliance between our villages. All expenses are paid as you will be on my tab, so enjoy yourselves here, said Gaara getting smiles from his fellow Jinchuriki. But of course I'll need the scrolls sent by your respective cages first. Naruto and Yugito nodded their heads as Naruto took off the huge scroll on his back. After opening the scroll, Naruto held the tiger seal making the scroll poof and revealed 2 other scrolls, a red one from Konoha and a yellow one from Kumo. Gaara nodded his head as Naruto handed him both scrolls. Thank you and enjoy your time in Suna. I'll get you a response after convening with my council, said Gaara as Kankuro offered to take them to their hotel. Also, are you able to do what you promised me now, Naruto? Naruto turned his head around and only smiled. I can do it tonight if you're willing. Tonight it is. Until then, said Gaara as he opened the 2 scrolls given to him and began to read their contents. Naruto and Yugito made their way out of the building following Kankuro all the way. Later that night Yugito walked into the hotel room provided by Gaara as Naruto walked in with a shopping bag behind her. That Naruto was followed by 16 other Narutos as they were all carrying shopping bags filled with things for Yugito. After placing their bag down, that Naruto would then poof away to allow the next Naruto to do the same. Well, I think that replaces all of my belongings, plus I got something extra, said Yugito as she looked at the original Naruto walking in. Naruto was holding up his now empty toad wallet, Gamma-chan, as he cried anime tears. Gaara said he'd pay for everything yet you made me pay, said Naruto sobbing all the while. I lost a whole S-ranked mission pay. It wasn't Gaara's fault that my belongings were swallowed by a plant, said Yugito as Naruto continued to sob. After a few minutes, Naruto straightened up as he and Yugito felt a presence rapidly approaching. Sand swirled into their room as Gaara appeared in a Suna Shunshin. Naruto nodded at Gaara as he then followed Gaara out of the window back to the cage building. After walking through the doors, Gaara took Naruto into the bunker located at the base of the building. The room was empty except for a metal bed with restraints on it. You ready? Asked Naruto as Gaara took the gourd off his back and the upper part of his clothing, leaving him bare-chested. Gaara then laid down on the table as he blew out a breath. If you are, said Gaara as Naruto tied down his arms and legs with the restraints on the bed. Naruto created a wood clone as he smiled. Of course I am. If I succeed then you'll be able to sleep at night without the threat of losing your mind. If not, I'll just unleash a Biju hellbent on destroying everything everywhere, and since we're in this little room, you and I will be squished and killed without even being able to stop him. No pressure, said Naruto with a grin. Naruto then looked to his clone. Let's get to it. Naruto's clone jumped back several feet as it sat cross-legged on the ground facing Gaara and the original Naruto. Wooden pillars grew around the clone as it placed a palm out toward Gaara. The kanji for sit appeared in the clone's palm as the pillars reached maximum height. A firm nod from his replica later and Naruto ran through 7 hand seals before placing a hand over the seal that housed Shukaku inside of Gaara. Fuinjutsu. Kite sealing technique. Released said Naruto as a burst of energy rolled through the room as Gaara's seal glowed and began to slowly recede on itself. Sand began to swirl around violently after Naruto released the seal as Shukaku began to attempt to free himself. The wood clone's hand began to shake as it tried to keep the presence of Shukaku suppressed while his original kept his palm on Gaara's seal until it receded fully. Eventually, Gaara's seal got to the bare minimum without releasing the full might of Shukaku before Naruto put his other hand in a half-rammed seal. Shishio Fuin 4 symbols seal. A circle of kanji appeared where Gaara's seal once was. The circle of kanji had 4 points sticking out of it at 4 different corners as the Uzumaki swirl appeared in the middle of the kanji. The seal glowed for several seconds until the sand that had been whipping around without control dropped to the ground harmlessly. The seal turned black as Naruto smiled while a bead of sweat dripped from his forehead. The entire process had taken a little over 3 minutes as Naruto put his hands up in victory. Naruto promised Gaara on a visit to Suna, after seeing Gaara attempting to change for the better, that he'd look into making Gaara's seal better. Naruto noticed that Gaara's seal was only good enough to hold Shukaku in but not protect Gaara from his influence. And after 2 years of seal work with clones and studying Gaara's seal, Naruto finally could create a better seal for his friend. Naruto and his clone then shared an air high five as the original Naruto fell back onto the sand that now occupied the floor. His clone made the wood it created go back into the ground as it dissolved into wood itself. Naruto fell into a state of unconsciousness as doing Gaara's seal took a lot out of him. Gaara woke up an hour later as he looked around to see Naruto out cold laying down in his sand. "I can't feel Shukaku like before." "He did it," said Gaara as he realized he was still restrained to the table. Sand rose out of his gourd as it broke his restraints to allow its wielder freedom. "Seems my control over sand is still as good." Gaara sat up as he placed back on his clothes and gourd before picking Naruto up with the sand he was lying on and carrying him back to his hotel room. Gaara entered their room as he placed Naruto on his bed before leaving. Several minutes later, Yugito stepped out of the bathroom to see Naruto passed out on the bed. "Naruto-kun," said Yugito as Naruto didn't move in the slightest. Yugito sighed as she wouldn't be able to have her way with Naruto this night either. What does a girl have to do around here to get some? 2 days later, Futon. Kamedachi no Jutsu, wind style. Wind scythe technique came the voice of Tamari as she let loose a mighty torrent of wind across the training ground she was in. The wind carried dust and other particles as it ripped its way toward her opponents. Mokuton. Mokujo Heiki, wood style. Wood domed wall, thought Naruto. Holding the snake seal as a circular wall of wooden pillars protected him and his partner from the violent winds. Once the wind began to die down, Naruto let his wall recede as his partner ran through several hand seals. Kaiten. Daiendant fire style. Great flame bullet, said Yugito, holding the tiger seal as she sent out a huge wall of flames at Tamari. Due to the dying wind still in the area, the flames grew to great heights as they raced toward Tamari. Before the fire could reach Tamari, a massive sand wall appeared in front of her to block the great flames. The sand wall fell to show Gaara standing near Tamari with his hand up. Naruto placed his hands in the ram seal before grabbing Yugito and jumping to avoid 2 giant puppets coming out of the ground that attempted to trap the two. TCH. Good of you to dodge my Kurohiji. Kiki Senpatsu, black secret technique. Machine triple shot, said Kankuro as he then smirked. But now you're prime targets for our next attack. Kurohiji. Kiki Senkuku, black secret technique. Machinery triangles, said Kankuro as his 2 puppets opened up to fire off kunai attached with bombs. Futon. Dai Kamedachi no Jutsu, wind style. Great wind scythe technique, said Tamari as she sent out a gust of wind that was greater than the first. Rendon. Suna Shigur, successive shots. Sand drizzled, said Gaara as he sent out a plentiful of sand bullets. The sand siblings' attacks were directed at the airborne Yugito and Naruto as they honed in fast. Halfway to Naruto and Yugito, a massive wooden dragon burst from the ground as Naruto and Yugito landed on top of its still rising head. The dragon took the combined assault from the sand siblings without wavering in the slightest as it then turned its head down to look at the 3 Suna nins. The dragon let out a mighty roar before rushing out at the sand siblings. The dragon moved surprisingly fast despite its immense size and prepared to crash into the 3 before Gaara raised both hands, creating giant sand hands that stopped Naruto's dragon in its tracks while also capturing Naruto and Yugito in the process. Sabaku. Hando, desert hand, said Gaara as Naruto smiled. Okay, you win, said Naruto as Gaara allowed a rare smile. Gaara let Yugito and Naruto go as the 2 jumped to the ground next to the 3 of them. Gaara then had his sand bring out 2 scrolls, both green signifying they were from the cage personally. Here are the scrolls for you both to return to your cages, said Gaara as Naruto and Yugito humbly accepted them. Thank you for coming to Suna and I hope that everything works out so that we can have peace between our villages. Gaara shook hands with Yugito and Naruto as they then said their goodbyes to Tamari and Kankuro. See you guys around, said Naruto before he and Yugito threw on cloaks and left back on the trail to Konoha. As Naruto and Yugito disappeared over the horizon, Kankuro and Temari fell to their knees. "What's wrong with you two?" asked Gaara as he turned his head slightly toward his downed brother and sister. "Naruto hits hard," said Kankuro as Temari said the same about Yugito. If it hadn't been for Gaara, they would have surely been decimated by the assault of those two. It also helped that they were given the home field advantage being in their village. Later that night, "Yeah, I could have totally kicked his ass if I went all out," came the loud voice of Naruto so Yugito could hear him since she was taking a shower. But by doing something like that it causes an unnecessary ideal for power. If a village's cage can be defeated by another ninja, especially a foreigner, then it definitely paints a bad picture. Yugito turned off the water as she walked out of the bathroom clad in only a towel to see Naruto laying motionless on the bed, just like she had left him earlier. How does a Jinchuriki get chakra exhaustion again? 30 minutes earlier, Mokuten. Cho Shichuka no Jutsu, wood style. Super 4-pillar house technique, said Naruto as he and Yugito stood outside in a clearing. Naruto slammed his hands on the ground as the ground erupted in a burst of wood pillars. Naruto's wood pillars converged and merged eventually into an enormous castle-like structure, complete with a tall wooden fence around it. Outside of the fence, several of Naruto's plant summonings appeared as they became bodyguards for the newly created fortress. "Now, we won't have to worry about bandits disturbing our peace anymore," said Naruto before he face planted into the ground. "I think I may have put too much chakra into this." Present when he creates a castle and pumps a tremendous amount of chakra into his summons so that they don't dispel right away and can last throughout the night. Not to mention that in the same day, having clones training before they left Sunagakure and that he and his sexy girlfriend just faced a cage and two jonin for over an hour in a spar. In hindsight, I should have thought that through more, said Naruto before wiggling his toes slightly. I can wiggle my toes now so in about another half hour I should be able to move. Thanks for helping me get a shower and to bed because the way I am now, I wouldn't have been able to do it myself. Naruto was wearing only boxers as Yugito helped him take care of himself before bed because it was taking him forever to do so himself. She then helped him onto the bed so he could lay down and recover from his state of immobility. Yugito nodded her head as she then picked up the shirt she put out to wear for the night. Right before putting it on, Yugito then realized something and a smile grew on her face. Yugito threw the shirt down as she turned back to the whiskered blonde laying on the bed before her. Naruto noticed Yugito's grin and was wondering what was going on. "Yugi-chan," said Naruto as he noticed Yugito walking toward the bed before crawling over to him and sitting on her knees. "So you basically can't do anything right now." "Helpless," said Yugito as Naruto nodded his head slowly with a confused look on his face. "Pretty much. Though being a Jinchuriki, I'll recover here shortly. I just told you that though Yugi-chan. Were you not listening?" started Naruto only to stop when he felt Yugito's hand rub against the part of his anatomy hidden underneath his boxers. "So I could pretty much do anything to you right now and you wouldn't be able to stop it," said Yugito as her smile grew when she felt Naruto responding. "Because you've kept me waiting for far too long. And I intend to make you pay for that." Lemon start Yugito continued to rub against Naruto's manhood until it stiffened to her liking before, with ninja-like speed, she took Naruto's boxers off and flung them out of sight and out of mind. Yugito then leaned down before deeply kissing the motionless Naruto while wrapping a hand around his hardened member. Yugito smiled into the kiss as she heard Naruto swallow a sharp breath from her slowly pumping his cock with her hand. Yugito disengaged from the kiss still smiling. "This is going to be fun. Oh and thank you for that Naruto-kun," said Yugito as she felt the towel around her get taken off. Wait what? Yugito didn't have enough time to realize that Naruto just took off her towel before she was lying on her back with Naruto's shaft rubbing against her opening teasingly. "What was that about making me pay?" asked Naruto before he leaned down to engage Yugito in another heated kiss that she wasn't prepared for but returned eagerly. Naruto continued to rub against Yugito's lower lips to get her juices flowing as he moved to Yugito's neck with kisses along her jawline. As Naruto kissed Yugito's neck soothingly, he placed a hand around one of her supple, C-cup breasts, lightly squeezing it in his hand. Yugito let out a small moan as she wondered what was going on. "I thought you had chakra exhaustion. How are you moving right now?" Asked Yugito before moaning again as Naruto worked his way down to her breast from her neck with his mouth while pinching the other's nipple. Naruto looked up at Yugito with a grin after licking her breast once more. I may have lied to get you to this point. Kyuubi Jinchurikis don't experience chakra exhaustion, my dear Neko cat. And it worked better than I hoped because now, said Naruto, positioning himself carefully before inserting himself slowly into Yugito's pussy. Naruto found himself fully engulfed as he looked at Yugito's blissful face from the feeling of Naruto's cock inside her. No hymen. Yugito adjusted to the feeling of the rock-hard blonde inside of her. I broke it during Jinchuriki training but I've never, oh god, started Yugito before being cut off by Naruto rocking his hips back and forth at a steady pace. Yugito bit down on her finger as she let loose another moan, feeling every inch of Naruto inside of her. Naruto began to pick up the pace, pistoning into Yugito as he could feel Yugito rocking her own hips to match his movements. Yugito wrapped her legs around Naruto's waist to push him even deeper inside and got a grunt out of Naruto from the added tightness of the simple gesture. This feels so good, Yugi-chan, said Naruto before being pulled into a searing kiss by Yugito as he continued to thrust into her. Ending the kiss, Yugito felt Naruto moving her legs so that they were now resting on his shoulders. Yugito's look of confusion soon turned to one of pure ecstasy as Naruto was now burying himself deeper and harder into her in this new position, hitting her deepest spot over and over again. Please. Don't. Stop. Said Yugito in between pants as she felt herself approaching orgasm. Naruto felt Yugito tighten around him considerably as her vision blurred slightly from the intensity of her climax. Naruto slowed down and let Yugito's legs fall back to either side of him as he let Yugito come down from her moment of bliss. Coming down from her orgasm, Yugito looked at Naruto with a predatory look as she stopped Naruto, making him pull out of her. Before Naruto could ask why, Yugito pushed Naruto onto his back as she sat up to stroke his still hard cock some more. I thought you were a virgin, Naruto-kun, asked Yugito, still rubbing Naruto's cock. How are you so good at this? I am, but I must be some kind of sex juggernaut, said Naruto before Yugito placed herself above him as Naruto added in thought, not to mention the fact that my sensei writes smut and has been teaching me all about this stuff since I met him. Yugito slowly guided her way down Naruto's length as she then began to bounce up and down on her lover's cock, reveling in the feeling of riding it to her own liking. Oh, that feels so good, said Yugito, pulling Naruto into her chest as Naruto started to thrust back up into her. Naruto could feel himself reaching that point of no return, but Yugito was adamant about not letting him leave. Yugi-chan, let go. I'm about to, go ahead, I want it. I promise it's fine, said Yugito, cutting Naruto off from trying to leave. Yugito plopped down on Naruto a final time before feeling the warm fluid of his seed coat her insides. The force of his climax triggered a second one from Yugito as it helped milk Naruto for all he had. Naruto then fell backward as Yugito took him out of her before cuddling up beside him. Yugito rubbed her cheek against Naruto's chest as she smiled happily. That was everything I thought it would be. I feel so, that was amazing, said Yugito as Naruto smiled tiredly. Me too, Yugi-chan, said Naruto as he pulled Yugito in a little closer while moving the covers over them. We'll have to do it again soon. Naruto and Yugito lay still for a few seconds with their eyes closed until Yugito broke the silence. Want to go again right now? Asked Yugito before looking up at Naruto. The two shared a smile as they kissed and Naruto pulled the covers up, covering them completely. Meanwhile, in a bar somewhere in the land of grass, oh, Jiraiya-sama. Tell us more about how you taught the yellow flash. A request from a well-endowed woman leaning on the toad Sanin. No, tell us more about the orange fox. A different request from the equally well-endowed woman on the other side of Jiraiya. Of course I will, ladies, started Jiraiya before he felt a tingle. Jiraiya then smiled to himself internally as he realized what the tingle meant. Way to go, Gaki, or should I say, man. I bet he even did the thing with the legs over his shoulder for his first time. I told him those lessons would pay off one day. Now I'll just have to find a way to get him to do it on video, thought Jiraiya as he then returned his attention to the ladies that were accompanying him at the moment. Lemon and, one day later, outskirts of Sunagakur, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki has left the village. You can go ahead and pursue your target of the Ikibi. Came the voice of Zetsu, the Akatsuki's spy, as he was talking to two other members of the Akatsuki. Zetsu then dug back into the ground to leave the others to their assignments. The taller figure of the two pulled out what appeared to be a clay bird as he tossed it out in front of them. A poof of smoke later and a giant clay bird stood ready for use. "Don't worry Sasori-senpai. I'll handle this one," said the taller figure as he leapt on the bird. Having to wait for the Kyubi Jinchuriki to leave seemed pointless as I'm sure we could have taken him, especially with my art. "You heard Leader Sama. We are not to face the Kyubi Jinchuriki, he is the leader's target," said the smaller figure as he added. "Don't keep me waiting." The taller figure took off on his bird over Sunagakuer as the smaller figure realized it was finally time. So, it begins. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.